Let's see. We are live on YouTube. So, Pat, welcome back from your vacation, and I'm back from my vacation.
Yeah, we're just refreshed.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's I don't know what the temperature was where you were, but I was like 75 degrees, and but now there's a big fire up there, up in Washington State. So yeah, it's huge, very close to one of my friend's cabins, and the helicopters are coming down right in front of her dock, picking up the water and go up and spraying it. And her mom said, "You need to spray the roof of the house." She goes, "Don't worry about that. The helicopters have been dropping enough water all over us, so we're fine." So
that's crazy.
But hey, I've got charts today that I put together for our millions of viewers, and which I know whenever we get on, we're really testing the bandwidth of YouTube, with our millions of viewers. So
I think they open up a new warehouse, server warehouse for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something. So the number of listings we have today is 8,411. 2 days ago, we almost got below 8,000. So Tuesday and Wednesday are always the lowest inventory numbers, and then they go back up on Fridays. So now when I say there's only 8,400, you're going to see some numbers out there where people say inventory is 12,000, but I'm only including active listings. They're including active listings and listings that are still accepting contracts under backup. Mm-hmm. I count those as already under contract. So when I say 8,000, that's what I get. So what I did was I broke them down a little bit here. And so I'm showing of the well, it doesn't do any good to click on that picture unless I share my screen. So bear with me here. Share the screen. Right there. I'm going to do this one. So I'm going to show this photo. Here we are. See that okay?
Yeah, it's a little small. I mean, can you blow that up at all for people? Or
I think it's not looking like I can. Here we are. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay. So of the 8,000 listings we have, this is by price. Okay. So the largest chunk of the pie is between under 300,000 at 20%. And then I'm going to show you, that seems like, wow, we got a lot of homes under 300,000. Well, we do and we don't. The next chart will clear that up. And then you can see it goes 300 to 400,000, 400 to 500 on up the line. And 1 to 2 million, 11% of listings are above $1 million. 9% above 2 million. I thought that was kind of surprising.
So that's 11% of the 8,000?
Yes. Yeah. So now here's the number that shows, I'm going to zoom in again here, the types of listings. So single family homes make up 77% of that. And then look how many are mobile homes, 6%. So when I said that there was this large number of homes that were under $200,000, the majority of those in that price range are mobile and modular and condo. So you've got all this big pie, 77% of single family homes, only 8% of available homes are townhomes, 8% condos. So those are equally split. And then being Arizona, we have a lot of mobile homes out there. So I thought that was an interesting one to look at.
Interesting.
So, and then I wanted to dip into, well, now out of this total, this week, we put on 3,907 homes and we sold 4,075. So our gap, we sold 168 more that came on board. That's a little lower than what we've been seeing. So we've been losing inventory about 300 a week.
What was that number that was sold?
4,075.
This week?
Yeah. So we're consistently selling 4,000 homes a week.
Is that selling or closed sales?
That's under contract. So they'll close 30 to 45 days from now.
Okay.
So that's where that's coming from. And that's been fairly consistent, hanging around that 4,000 range. And new construction is doing extremely well, but not enough to make up for that. You know, there's only 2,500 building permits issued for the month of June. And, you know, and here you're seeing we're selling, 4,000 homes a week. So new construction right now is not catching up for the inventory shortage. But a couple other quick things to share with you again here. I'll talk a little bit about what's going on in the economy here. And I've got two charts. One is M1. And M1 is the amount of money that's out there, like in checking accounts, bonds, stocks, and everything, right? So the Fed,
there's M1, there's M2, M3, M6.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this one's M2. Yeah. So a lot of it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
The chart's gone way up. And here's what the Feds are concerned with, and that is velocity.
Yep.
Velocity is the money being spent? Is it moving? Yep. No. Nothing's open. It can't move.
Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that a shocking graph?
It is.
What happens when this starts moving? So, I mean, it's that could be when we start to see some signs of inflation. But I saw a YouTube guy today that I follow, and he's a Phoenix investor. The guy's pretty sharp. His name's Ken McElroy, and he was talking a lot today about how he feels that real estate's going to really start seeing some trouble in 2021. And he laid out exactly. And basically he said there's really only two numbers that affect real estate. And it's inventory being number one, which we're feeling right now, right? I mean, there's just nothing out there. So people are scrambling and fighting for it, bidding wars and the like. The second one is income stability. Do people have jobs? Are they feeling stable in their jobs? And that's the number where he feels that we're really in trouble. Because according to these federal studies, 11% of the workforce have no reasonable chance of returning to work. That's a pretty big number. That equates to about 25 million people are just not going to make it back to work. And if they don't extend this $600 a week unemployment, like now, then we're in real big trouble.
Yeah. Nice.
So, and I'm seeing things in our industry that kind of bugged me a little bit. And that is, I read a post today that said, sales are up and prices are up. The housing market is in a strong recovery. And I go, no, do you believe that?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's strange. Strange.
That's lagging data.
Yeah. Yeah.
May and June were good. July is going to be really good. But when we look down the road, it's going to be tough. It's going to be an opportune time for buyers if they're working.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I mean, I was talking to a loan officer at our company, at Price Mortgage, and he said, because I'll tell you, boy, like I said, as I've said the last couple of months, I mean, we were trying to figure out the trends, data, the trends and psychology, and this has just been unprecedented. I mean, like I said, I feel like I read a lot of stuff, but I was talking to him, and he's like, because I've just been confused by the level of demand. The demand that we're seeing in Arizona is obviously. Well, I'm talking to several people this week. It's like this one lady up in Prescott. She's selling her home, and it's all California.
Is it? Because I saw the Cromford report, and she had mentioned that the data didn't look like that we had this huge inward migration. Are you seeing?
The people I've talked to, it's not like I've talked to tens and thousands of people this week, but the handful of people, the people I've talked to, it's California, and I've talked to a couple other people, California, Washington. It seems like, in Prescott, I know there's a ton of people moving in from California, and, they're just coming in. Yeah, obviously they're selling their home, for 1.3 million. They've had it forever, and they owe $400,000. So they got $800,000 million, and they could buy a $500,000 home here. And I think that's why you're seeing some of the bidding, people not worried about, all right, the house is listed for they're getting a $450,000 house over here. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but that house would be 800,000, 900,000 over in California easily.
Oh, easily. Yeah. Yeah. I tried looking up migration data today by looking up, moving companies, but they have it, but it's really lagging. So it's like 2019. So it's useless.
Yeah. I think there is some truth to that. I mean, but I mean, that's why I think you're probably seeing, or, some agents you got a house that's listed for 450. I had another agent actually, he works up in Desert Hills area, up in North Phoenix, kind of that North Phoenix, kind of that real unique area up there. And he said he's got a client that's listing a house for $780, and he feels he'll get $815, $820 for it.
Wow.
I mean, in that market, that $650, $750, $800,000 market, you normally don't see bidding wars, and he's been seeing some bidding wars up in that area. It's a very tight market up there. There's no inventory up there either, in that, because it's like you said, down in Gilbert, there's a very specific area that these homes are on fairly big lots, but you've got people having bidding wars on $750,000 homes. So that's just not your average. That's not your average borrower.
No, that is California, and that's also a sign that the stock market is still doing well. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, I don't California.
I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but there's just stuff out there that scares me when I look down the road. I think, and I think people should pay attention to it.
Yeah, I think you and I, we make a living in real estate, doing loans and selling real estate, but I think you and I are both determined to try to give the right information. It's like somebody calling me for another quote on a mortgage loan. If they've got a decent rate or getting a decent program, from another lender, I'll just tell them, like, listen, you're doing well. I mean, I could. No sense trying to twist the story any different way. I mean, you and I.
I'm shouting from the rooftop that you should sell now if you've been thinking about it at all.
Yeah, and
I did find a local service that will come in. So if you list your home on a Friday and say it's available for showings on Saturday and Sunday, I recommend you leave town. Go to Prescott, go to Payson. Take it easy. Come back Sunday night. I found a service that comes in and sanitizes your home. Come in and they have like a fog, right? Mm-hmm. Now completely sanitize your home before you come home. So that's if I was listing a house right now, that's what I would do. I would do all this run up and say, here's the photos, here's the 3D tour, the walkthrough, and it's available on Saturday. So those that have seen it and walked through it and are serious will show up on Saturday.
Yeah. I should get the referral, because just if I have a crazy party at my house, I might need that for Sunday night.
They may send 2 trucks.
We'll keep that guy in mind.
Yeah. I've seen your house. I have it done anyway. You just busting your chops.
I'm a bachelor.
Anything changing in the lending industry? Is it still just kind of everything's like status quo?
I mean the rates. I mean, I look at the rates. I mean, the rates they've been hitting lows the last month. I mean, it seemed in the last 5 days, the bonds have, gone up, rates have gone down. But the problem is, I mean, people say, I mean, once again, I mean, you said they're the lowest. I mean, you're getting, 30-year mid to high twos, depending, just depending. Yeah, basically any rates that are in the high twos, typically there's a buy down, because a lot of lenders are in the high twos, low threes, but they're basically in the twos. If you do a buy down, a little bit of a discount, and they have been. I'm just reading this as a net effect. The net effect has been an uncanny ability for rates to hit record low after record low after record low, with little apparent risk for a rebound moving up. They could go lower, and they said. compared the mortgage-backed security bond to the treasury bond. They're like cousins. They move around together, but we saw this decoupling, obviously back in March, where people were not buying mortgage-backed security bonds because of the risk. So there was a big gap, and now that gap has loosened up. And they say rates could go lower, but they're at a point now where, like in this saying, basically lenders right now are just too overloaded right now. And the thing of it is, lower rates would make things even worse. And basically, the bond market's telling the mortgage market, that the rates could go lower, but the mortgage market is saying no go, because right now, the capacity. The best way I could put it is, if you had an underwriter that was working on, say, 50 loans, she might be working on 150 to 200 loans now. The capacity has increased. It's off the charts. Turn times, lenders that normally had a turn time underwriting, turn time of say 1 to 3 days, now are 8 to 15 days in underwriting. So but they can't.
Agents out there that are writing offers, they should be writing them at 45 days, not 30.
Yeah, 30 is gonna be there's you can close in 30 days, but you've got to have all your ducks in the row. And the thing of it is, all the components, and that the bottom line is yes, because I'd say 45 days or on or before, because to try to make a plan that you won't close in 30 days, because it's just not the mortgage lender, but there's always the components, all the other components, the title companies, the appraisers. If you got to get an appraisal, it could take 2-3 weeks to get an appraisal done. So it's not just, people always blame the lender, say, oh, you're taking too long. We're one piece of about 8 different pieces. And like I said, my buddy, a couple of weeks ago, I told you, I think I mentioned on, I mentioned this story real quickly about how he worked with this one title company, and he sent him a couple title orders for refinances. And she says, no, I can't take them. And this guy does a lot of business, sends it to one title company, and they refused him. He's probably one of their bigger customers. And they said, we can't take your business. And there's plenty of title companies. You know as well as I do. It seems like they're like lenders are around the corner everywhere. Empire Title, First American, Chicago Title. You go down the list, and they're squeezed. Notaries are squeezed. So it's not just the lenders that are holding up the whole train. And
speaking of notaries, I saw a notice yesterday from Jet Title that I use, Jet Closing. And they just announced that they are set up for digital notary.
Oh, wow.
So that's a game changer.
So you got it. That's definitely a game changer. But the problem is, now that's a title company. It just depends on lender. You got to have. Problem is, you got to have the lender all in the same boat. Everybody has
to approve it. So
yeah. But that's great. The bottom line is, like you said, the mortgage rates have been, they've been low. Do they go lower? As I referenced to a couple months ago, it's like buying a stock that was at 50. Now it's at 10. And yeah, it might go down to 9.50 or 9. But if you buy it at 10, really, a lot of people try to get that cocktail party interest rate. They say, I talked to this one girl yesterday, that I'm trying to do a purchase for. And she's like, she goes, me, I want the lowest rate. And I said, well, Rhonda, I said, I got to give you the lowest rate based on the day that, we get the loan. She goes, yeah, I know. She goes, I totally trust you as far as that. I said, she goes, I want the lowest rate. I always want to go to a party and tell people I got the lowest rate. I said, well, that's
the cocktail
it's
rate.
Tough.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The cocktail party rate. But, I think lenders, even if they do, they're going to still be very sticky. Rates are going to be sticky here because, once again, who wants to lend? Even if rates, let's say, went down to, I have actually seen rates in the ones, 1.875. Believe it or not. It's a buy down. Don't get, you got to buy down, get it crazy. It's a couple of point buy down, 2-3 points, 4 points, whatever it was. But, lenders are going to eventually say, we can't lend out 30-year money at 2%. now, like you said, I ask anybody, would you want to loan, like if you had $1 billion, would you want to loan out that money, Rick, for 30 years at 2%?
Well, right now the main purchaser of bonds is the Federal Reserve. Mortgage-backed securities, the Federal Reserve.
So they're sucking it up. I mean, they've been buying it, and they said, obviously the Fed chairman said that they would do anything to accommodate. So they're in a very accommodative stance right now, and I don't foresee that changing for for a period of time. As you mentioned on that one video the other day about nobody's ever going to ring a bell, at a certain time. Selling a home, buying a home, interest rates. Interest rates, you can kind of watch a chart, but charts have obviously, they've been going, the rates have been just going down, down, down. You wonder where the bottom is going to be. So it's been very interesting. To go back, like I said, the bottom line is the mortgage market, I think there's going to be a floor, a very hard resistant floor for rates to really, if somebody wants a certain rate, they're going to have to do a buy down. And that's where you pay prepaid interest ahead of time. But
you're holding out at a rate that's 2.87, thinking that you want to get one that's 2.75. I think you've got bigger issues.
Yeah. I mean, this gets a savings of like $8.50 a month.
Yeah. Just give up that one cup of Starbucks or two. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's nobody's got a crystal ball. I mean, I always say every time I lock a rate, it's probably about 100% chance that they, for Joe Smith, 100% chance they probably will go a little bit lower, and I'll be kicking. I'm like, oh, should have waited. But I've had days where I've locked somebody and rates have gone up. I'm like, I'm glad, I'm pretty much on top of it. But to go back to the markets, though, I mean, the GDP, obviously that was a 33%, down 33%. That was a kind of expected. That was built in. But it's going to be interesting. In terms of the forbearances, there's some numbers that came out. I just pulled up today. It said as of Wednesday, there were 4.1 million mortgages and forbearance plans. That's 7.7% of the 53 million loans in servicing portfolios. They said there was a 17,000 loan decrease in the total forborne loans over the previous week. But what I found interesting in these numbers is they said the number of GSE loans, the government-sponsored enterprise loans like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the conventional loans, those fell by 30,000 to 1.595 million. But an interesting note that they had in a sentence later on in the paragraph, it said, loans serviced by Ginnie Mae, which guarantees FHA, VA, and USDA, rose by 18,000 loans to the highest level of 1.4 million since early July. That in itself, remember I told you a couple months ago, the thing I was kind of concerned about was the down payment assistance programs.
Yes.
The DPAs. Remember I mentioned that. I mentioned it a couple of times, and that.
So the down payment assistance people now are kind of going, I can't make the payment.
Yeah, I mean, if you see the Fannie Mae, because typically Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they've got down payment assistance programs, but they typically are, if you're going to, conventional, your credit's a little bit, you're a little bit stronger borrower typically, and then FHA with the FHA down payment assistance programs, they're a little less lenient, and so it might be for the that borrower that's trying to really get in, that's into a loan. So that I found that number to be interesting. That the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac forbearances fell by 30,000, but the FHA, VA, and USDA increased by 18,000. So it's something like I said that I think that number, once again, I mean, I think the down payment assistance programs, it's right for the right person. I kind of stayed away from them in the last couple of years because I was getting a lot of people that were calling me saying, hey, I heard, there's a down payment assistance program. I would talk to somebody and I say, it's not free money. It's a higher interest rate. There's higher fees. What kind of money do you have to work with after you close? They're like, well, I've got, $500 in my checking account. So, if you do a loan, I'm looking at just kind of stripping it out, I'm kind of making this story up. But if you did a down payment assistance program a year ago, reached in the last year and a half, and
you're still upside down.
Yeah, you're still upside down, and maybe you got in with no money, you got assistance, but you still have that $500,000 in checking account. And if you lost your job, that's why I think that 18,000 increase, might bear some of those numbers there that, it's just a little something to watch. I mean, on that market, because like you said, it's not like they had $20,000, $30,000 in their checking account, to buy a home.
Well, the other number to watch too, which is kind of a harder one to track, is the number of homes in Arizona. 23% of them in the Phoenix market were investor owned, and how much rent are they getting now? So when will those hit the market? And I suspect they'll start hitting the market here real soon. Unless there's rental relief programs offered in this latest bill, but it was supposed to be done today, and Congress and Senate are still miles apart. And it doesn't look like anything's getting signed today before the weekend recess. And there were a lot of evictions scheduled for the end of July. And so if there's any relief coming, then you could end up with quite a few people, ending up wanting to get rid of their rentals. And that could hit the market, increase inventory.
And that, I think, but, like I said, while we're talking negatively and being kind of kind of Debbie Downers maybe here and there, but I think, like I said, we're just trying to be realistic. That might obviously loosen up some inventory to help people buy a home, which would balance, you and I would both love to see a more balanced market with more homes out there where people are kind of, that might help it.
Yeah, if you're in buying for the long term, you want to buy during a balanced market. And the difference is you want to buy a home when you can have a normal inspection period and where you can rely on the appraisal, and you can, and you don't have to overpay. So it's not really the price of the home and the price is going up during this frenzied market that concerns me, because over the long term, it washes out. What concerns me are the decisions people are making, that they're not I'm going to waive the inspection. I'm going to buy your house as is. Well, let's say you get down here in some of these homes in Chandler, and the house was built in 1996. A lot of them need new roofing underlayments. You got to remove the tile, put new underlayment on. That's not cheap. And so if you waived an inspection, you've just bought a $15,000 roof job. You
or AC
bought
unit.
a home where the AC is going out next week. There may be leaks you haven't seen. So when you waive inspections, so it doesn't matter the price of the house anymore, right?
Yeah.
You bought a host of problems, and that only goes away in a frenzied market.
Yeah. Well, that's like 05, 06. It's the same thing that people were buying homes sight unseen, putting offers on a house. And it's kind of that same scenario. I think it's, people say we're going to see a crash. I think, once again, we talked about this several months ago. I don't see a crash, because that was all predicated on, once again, to repeat myself a couple of times, it was all predicated on the weak paper that was mortgage paper that was written. I mean, we don't have, we got state income loans still. We have bank statement loans now and stuff like that, but the underwriting is just so much tougher now.
Yeah. And I want to remind people too, because I pulled up the purchase contract, because I remember the clause, and I wanted to kind of read it to people, because there is a financing clause. I think it was line, oh shoot, I'm trying to find it in here.
33. I
didn't print up the right page, but there's a financing clause that says, if I can't get the loan, I get my earnest money back, right? So I've written the contract, and for whatever reason, the loan that I thought I could get, I couldn't get, I get the earnest money back, unless I decide I don't want to accept that loan because the interest rate wasn't where I thought it was going to be, or I failed to come up with the down payment money. If I don't get the loan for either of those two reasons, it's bye-bye earnest money. So if you're out shopping for a home and your lender says, I can get you in at 2.75, and you go, great. And you're getting ready the last week. And now he comes back and says, oh, it's 2.9. You could tell your lender to pound sand, you don't want to get it, but you're going to lose your earnest money. So really need to understand the contract that you're signing. Make sure your agent goes through these things with you, because it's, not getting the interest rate you want is not a good reason to walk away from a home contract.
No, I mean, basically, if the bottom line is if the lender can do the loan and you decide, I mean, if I can't do the loan, yes, then you get your money back. If I come back and say, Joe Smith, I can't get your loan because of this,
yeah,
that's good.
Because you bought a car.
Okay.
Because you bought a car.
Yeah. But if you do something that, if I do something and I can't get you a loan, then yes. But if you do something like say, well, I don't like that, and I can still get you a loan, but you don't like that rate, then that's your problem.
Well, that's the only reason I brought it up is people are so interest rate sensitive. I want them to be careful in that part of the purchase. Because they're so laser focused on getting that absolute bottom line low rate that sometimes they get really ticked off because you're seeing the numbers just, boing one afternoon and then back down. So they get fixated on a number, and it's too bad. We can't just say, hey, I know I quoted your rate, but your monthly payment just went up by $6.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But we don't do that, right? We go, you went from 2.88 to 2.78.
Yeah.
Oh God.
People do. I mean, they get frustrated. I mean, like I said, I can't control rates. I mean, I do try to do the best when locking a rate, but and I try to always kind of tell people, I'm looking at 2.875 when I'd rather set the expectation I can get 2.875, but then do all of a sudden I can get 2.75. It's like, okay, not that I do it from a sales standpoint, but it's just, I want to make sure that their expectations, like, hey, I'm happy at 2.875, but if I can jump in there and get 2.75, I know they're not getting
the psyche that we have out there now in the market is that, and I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime, is, man, if we jump up to 4%, the real estate market's toast. Really? Yeah. We've come to that. 4% is now. Last year, that number was 5.5%. If we start getting to 5.5, the market's going to slow down. Now here we are saying, and if it gets up to 4,
there's a lot of entitled. There's a lot of, for lack of a better term, there's a lot of entitled people out there that now they expect, they don't know. As a matter of fact, I was in the office yesterday, and there's a lady, a new lady that was brought on. She's inputting all the old data from old past loans that our company has done a couple of years ago. And she turned to me and she goes, oh my gosh. She goes, I'm amazed at these interest rates from these old loans. They're like 6.5%. This is, she was inputting all the old data from a couple of years ago. She goes, 5.5%, 6%. She goes, oh my God, 6%. It's just like, I remember back in 2000, oh God, it was 6 or, I remember the rates went below 7%. I called my buddy. I go, hey, I can get you 6.75, 6.75. He goes, lock me in today.
Well, now my first house was $112,000 in Seattle, and my payment was $1,300. What can I buy for $1,300 now, Pat?
For 125. What's that? $1,300.
$1,300 payment.
I'm just kind of number wise over 200, 2.25.
So
what is it?
People don't buy the house for the price of the house. It's the payment.
Yeah.
So back in 1984, when I bought this house,
250, 250.
Yeah.
So, people are, like I said, they're getting to a point now where they're getting really kind of, it's amazing. They just should be blessed that they can get rates, in the twos. It's amazing. That's obviously keeping this market going.
This week, we're going to come close to Monday or Tuesday of being below 8,000 listings available. But it's going to be close. I think we might come in at like 8,100. We came in because right now we're sitting at 8,411, and we're losing about 300 listings over the weekend just from sales. But this week notoriously is not a really busy week in real estate, especially now when it's 117. So I I don't think we'll go down by over 400 units over this coming weekend, and not like below 8,000 is a significant number, but I looked up the numbers for the city of Florence yesterday. There's 73 homes for sale. That's it. So when you're looking in your neighborhood, and I hear people all the time going, well, they're selling as soon as they go up. People must be making arrangements to sell the house, before they put the sign up. Like maybe, but by the time you order the sign and it gets installed and you put on the MLS that it's coming soon, it probably did get sold before the sign went up.
You see a lot of coming soon, this is coming soon this week and stuff in there. So it's almost like an IPO.
Well, the MLS opened up to allow us to actually put coming soons in. That used to be just limited to, to Facebook and YouTube. So
pocket listings.
So there's criteria. You can only do it 2 days before. So if I look on the MLS now, let's take a look here. I think I can pull up and say how many are coming soon. As I look at the total data, and let's see, we had 891 go back on the market. 1,700 had a price change. We have 691 listings that are coming soon. And that number has been pretty constant. That number becomes part of the new listings for the next week. Mm-hmm. So I haven't seen an increase in coming soon listings. What I've seen a huge spike in are pending listings. So the difference between under contract and pending means we're not going to have any more showings. We've accepted this offer. No more showings, please. We're moving forward. Under contract accepting backups means, yeah, you can come look at the house and we'll take a look at your offer as a backup offer. So the sellers today are saying, once I get a contract, Katie, bar the door. And so the number of pending listings is almost 2 to 3 times higher than under contract with accepting backup, which we call UCB. Mm-hmm. And that shifted about 30 days ago. Just went boink. So makes sense. So.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking about all this, and we're talking about interest rates and stuff like that. I mean, we're in an interesting time, and I think I just thought of this. It came to the top, it's coming to my head here a little bit, but as we're talking about all this stuff, the supply, demand, interest rates, this is all going to change sometime down the road. Maybe we do get more homes in the market. I mean, but it can't stay like this forever.
It can't, and it never has. No. So whenever I've seen a buying frenzy, it never sticks. I mean, this is not going to be here in December. And if it is, it'd be, I can't even describe how unprecedented that is. Buyer frenzies and tight inventories. It isn't a situation that sticks for the long term or even the midterm. It's a short window of craziness. Yeah. And we're there. Yeah. So I if you're that young couple, you're anybody right now, and you're thinking of buying a home, I mean, shoot, sit on your hands for a while. Forget it. It's unless you really have to move, but be prepared. So I think, instead of just being pre-qualified, go in pre-approved. Go beyond the normal pre-qualification where you're just checking off that you have a job, you verified credit. I mean, go all the way through up to the appraisal and get, pre-approved so you can be that huge, strong buyer. Because the sellers today, they're not just taking the highest price they can get. They want to make sure the deal sticks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's people out there that are saying, oh, I'll cover the appraisal. Well, you're going to have to show me the money that you can, because you just wrote this house up $25,000 more than my asking price. Show me your bank account. So you're going to have to dive in a little deeper when you're accepting these offers. So for sellers, if you're in a position, and I've been told about a potential seller coming up, and her situation is she would like to sell, and she lives down the street from her mom, and she could move in with her mom. and then she'd like to wait it out and then come back in next year and move to another, farther close to her work. That's a great strategy. For now. I think it is. I think she'll get premium dollar for her house now. She'll get it done in a weekend. She can move, and then she can wait until the market balances and then get back in.
Yeah.
I'm not saying market crash, but a market balance. And we're balanced at about 16,000 units.
Yeah. Even more probably, to be honest with you, probably going to be even higher, being a little bit higher. You're being generous there.
Well, how much longer are we going to continue to sell at 4,000 units a week? I guess it all depends on our inflow from other states. Yeah. So, and what is the buyer ceiling? Because it's been consistently staying at 4,000. And is that because we don't have enough inventory? So if we go from 8,000 units to 10,000 units, are we now going to sell 6,000 units a week, or is 4,000 the cap?
Yeah.
I think we're going to pop up, so if we get, in the midterm or short term, we get from 8,000 listings to 10,000, I think the number of contracts will go up with it until we get to that 12, 13, 14 range. Then we'll have, we won't be, the number of listings coming on every week won't get absorbed at that same rate. You look at that, and officially the MLS is saying we have a 2.1 month supply, but it's actually shorter than that because they're counting under contract accepting backups. We have a 2-week supply, Pat.
Yeah.
If we have 8,400 homes on the market, and we're selling 4,000, I don't need much of a calculator to figure out that's only 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, 2.1, the house does not sit on the market for 2.1 months.
No. And then I see average day listed is 51 days. Well, when you go through the MLS and you see that of those 51 days, it's counting the 544 mobile homes, that are out in the middle of nowhere. Those are not selling, real quick, or the condos or townhomes. I'd like to see a stat that shows you the average days on market just for a single family home.
Yeah.
I'll bet it's less than 3 weeks.
Oh yeah. It's gotta be. Everybody I've talked to said, house went under market. I mean, it's, one good thing is too, is on the, what I've seen, contrary to what I was thinking, I did read something that there was something I saw printed a couple of days ago that there is I can't remember what the percentage was, but there is about, I think it was 25 to 30% of the listings are, they're getting seller closing costs, because basically they can bump the sales price up. If you're buying a house for 300 and you need closing costs, the market's been so strong on appraisals that maybe they could bump it up $6,000 to get 306 to cover $6,000 in closing costs.
Sure. So yeah. Well, as long as the appraisal comes in.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, a little warning too. A friend of mine bought a house in Forks, Washington. He's going to use for a vacation property, right? So he was getting a good price on the house, and neither one of them decided to use a realtor. So they went through, I'll just say USAA for their mortgage. The day before they were supposed to close, my buddy calls and says, USAA's gone dark. They're not returning my calls, my phone calls. And I said, well, you're supposed to close tomorrow. He goes, yeah. And I said, well, have you seen your closing docs? He goes, no. I said, they're not returning your calls. He goes, no. And I said, well, now you know why you should have had an agent. Well, we didn't want to pay for one. The seller pays for the agent. Oh, okay. So then they switch over to Quicken Loans. Quicken Loans says we can close on the 29th, 2.5 weeks. So May, let's see, that was May. So they were supposed to close May 29th. They closed June 10th. Again, they were having problems. We get to the house and he's buying it from his nephew's wife's grandmother who went to a nursing home. Nobody took the stuff out of the house. We got out there. They still hadn't recorded. So we're out there on the 9th of June. It was supposed to close May 15th. But because they didn't have an agent, the lender's not going to call you, the borrower, back like they will an agent, because they want more referrals from the agent, right? So the whole communication process was terrible. I kept asking him, have you guys recorded yet? No, not yet. So I said, well, can you go into this house? Because it's not legally yours now. And so yeah, we got the keys. We went in. So they're going in and throwing things out, and it's not even legally their house yet. and I was just amazed at the misunderstanding of the process on both sides. John, it's here. It's your house. Here you go. And then we're throwing things out. And every time I asked if they'd recorded yet, they were treating it like I was being a little too nosy. And and his wife goes, oh, I don't know. I'll check my email tomorrow. I go, there's a reason I'm asking you this. If we start a fire today, this isn't your house.
No.
Your insurance that you think you have on this house, you're not insured. And so, it's even if you just hire an agent as a consultant, and I've done that, I've said, well, let's just draw a limited representation contract. I'll help you buy this investment home. I'll guide you through the paperwork. I'll follow up with your lender, and I'll make sure that you don't step in anything, for a fee. And it's not a consulting fee. It's like a buyer broker agreement. And I get the buyer to include my fee of $1,000 in the agreement. So when you go it alone, you've got to cover yourself, because this thing was just a cluster up there. I couldn't believe it. So
that's why we do what we do. I mean,
so
crazy times.
Well, have a good weekend. Stay inside.
Yep. Yeah. Numbers are coming out next week. We got employment numbers coming out next week. So, I mean, rates they've been on a run the last 4 or 5 days. I mean, they might pull back a little bit. I mean, but they've been, lenders have been, the biggest problem now is lenders are just over, the overcapacity. I mean, they just can't hire people quick. They can't hire, people right away. So it's stuff that took 30 days is taking 45 days now,
Yeah. It's not like you can decide on Thursday you're going to be an underwriter and you're over there doing it 2 weeks later. It's like,
yeah.
He's not a bunch of underwriters sitting at home going, I wish somebody called me.
Yeah. No.
Same with appraisers.
All right, sir.
All right. Well, goodbye to the millions of watchers that we have. And we'll see everybody next weekend.
All right.
Take care.
See you, buddy.